My name's Josh Ring.
And my name's Joe White.
Welcome to A View from the Stands podcast.
Today we're really excited to have one of my really good close friends on, Jamie Edge. Jamie, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Joe, how are you?
Yeah, all good, thanks. Yeah, really good to have you on.
Good.
Thanks for coming on.
Good. Thanks for having me.
No problem.
Good.
No problem. So, Jamie, we're going to ask you just a few questions about growing up and then going sort of through your footballing career and journey, and to let the viewers really get an insight into who you are, basically, and as a person. So, I guess the first question I want to ask you is what is like one of your earliest memories of football, or playing football, or watching football?
Earliest memories of watching football would be when I was 6 years old. We went up to Anfield to watch Liverpool versus Middlesbrough. Me, my cousin, my uncle, and my dad are all big Liverpool fans. So yeah, they took us up nice and early. That's my first memory. So sort of Robbie Fowler up top, that sort of era, and then sort of my biggest sort of memory of football, where I really knew I loved football, was the 2002 World Cup when we got knocked out to Brazil from the infamous Ronaldinho free kick. And I remember watching it at school because it was in the morning, and that was the first time I felt heartbreak from football. So that's how I knew I loved it. And in terms of playing, I played football my whole life. So since I was 5 or 6, I was playing for my local side, Cheltenham Wanderers, and then sort of my dad took on a little bit of a coaching role there, and yeah, just played ever since, really. So yeah, all I can think of and remember is football, really, since growing up.
Did you play for a youth team then, Jamie?
Yeah, so I played for a local team called Quedgeley, and then I was playing for Cheltenham Town from sort of the under 8s, under 9s. So I was playing Saturday, Sunday, Saturday for my local team, and then Sunday for Cheltenham Town. And then I also played at 11 for my district team, so an associations school thing. So I was playing for 3 different teams at 11, and then Cheltenham then said to me, at 11, you're not allowed to play for your local team anymore. You're only allowed to play for us. So then from under 12s onwards, I was just only allowed to play for Cheltenham. So I was allowed to do a bit of school football, but association football and local football was a no-go anymore. So yeah, from 12 onwards was just Cheltenham Town.
Cheltenham. Was it a case where you were always playing for the same age group, or were you playing up a few years? Sort of what was your path like at Cheltenham?
Cheltenham I was fast tracked quite a lot at Cheltenham, so it was sort of under 11s, 12s, 13s was pretty standard in my own age group. And then I think it's when I got to the under 15s, I went and played for the under 18s. So I was playing for the under 18s at 15, and that's when I started training with the first team. They used to bring me in like sort of once a week or once every couple of weeks just to train with the youth team, and then we used to go and train with the first team. So I used to get a day off school and train with the boys there. So that's how I sort of fell into getting on the bench quite early when I was in the first team. So yeah, I was playing sort of under 18s football when I was 15 at Cheltenham.
When did you sort of begin to realise that you were probably a lot better than other people your sort of age? Were you bigger than other lads? What was, when you were sort of 9, 10, 11? Did you feel I'm much better than who I'm playing against?
Yeah, I always played for my local team. I always played Europe, but that was mainly just because my cousin was a year older than me, and I was playing in his age group, so that was normal. I was always quite a big lad, so I was always pretty strong and could cope with the physicality of playing a year above. But yeah, I think at that time when 14, 15, I started getting a bit of interest from other clubs, and Cheltenham sort of put me on a bit of a fast track. That's when you sort of realise that that you're a good player and you can hold your own with other age groups. And I know you'll know, Joe, when you go into other groups of players, it doesn't matter who you are, you have to earn that respect, and you have to prove to them that you're a good player. And you can tell when players respect you, and you can tell when they've accepted you into a group. And that used to happen quite quickly moving through the age group. So I used to feel comfortable with the older lads because they all used to look after me and respect me for just being a good player and just sort of working hard.
Yeah, were you always playing in centre mid at this point, or were you playing more as a centre?
I was playing a lot of football at centre back. I remember playing for the under 18s for pretty much 6 months when I was 14, 15, and I was playing solely as a centre back. And then that was with John Brough, who was youth team manager at centre half at Cheltenham for sort of 5, 6 years, and he made me a centre half, and he just taught me how to defend and be a bit more aggressive and be a bit more sort of direct with my play and be a bit more nasty at a younger age. So yeah, I played centre back a lot. But I remember Bob Bloomer saying to me, "Don't let people just play at centre back because you're a big 15-year-old. You're a good footballer, so always want to play centre mid." So I always sort of led with wanting to play centre mid, but I did play a lot of centre back. Yeah.
I'm just interested because the sort of years then that you were at Cheltenham, the whole sort of playing out from the back thing, what was it as popular then? Because I'm thinking of, obviously technically you're great on the ball and stuff like that, but were you getting the ball off goalie from goal kicks I mean, what year was this we're talking about?
Well, so I went to Arsenal 2009, so we're probably talking 2007-ish, 2008. Obviously, looking back now, I can't remember playing out from the back, mate. No, there was no. At Cheltenham, there was good coaches, there was good setup, it was a good facility, it was a centre of excellence at the time, so it wasn't quite academy level. But we played good football, we had good players, but I don't, looking back now, thinking we were never taught patterns of play, we were never taught splitting centre halves, we were never talking about inverted full backs or anything like that coming to get the ball. So no, it was sort of squeeze up, kick the ball and win seconds and play a little bit more direct football, which I'm not knocking them for that, but it's not something I agree with now. But if I was coaching a 15-year-old now, I would teach split centre half. But the world's changing in football, hasn't it?
Sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. And just remember you saying, obviously, for your journey at Cheltenham, you were playing with, under 18s at 15 years old, first team, sort of knocking on that door. I take it then at that sort of age, your name was starting to sort of get about a bit more, and people were aware who Jamie Edge was. Like, how much interest started to sort of generate to you, and how aware were you that quite a few people were quite interested about who you were and what you do as a footballer?
Yeah, well, at that point, as soon as I got in the first team squad, Martin Allen invited me into the first team squad. I think I was on the bench for a League Two game, or I don't think I could be on the bench because I was too young. I wasn't an under 16 yet, so he tried to put me on the bench. He couldn't. Blah, blah, blah. It was a bit of back and forth. So I was in the squad sort of thing. And then it all blew up from there a little bit. So I had a sort of a crazy couple of weeks where I had the Centre of Excellence, Ken Oram, and Roger Hyatt was my manager at the time, sort of come around my house, spoke to my parents, and there was a lot of the sort of localised teams like Aston Villa, Birmingham, Wolves, the Midlands, that sort of area, all expressed an interest. And I actually played a game on a Saturday morning for the under 18s, and I was told that an Arsenal scout and a Manchester United scout were coming to watch me. Now, I didn't need to know that before the game because I had quite a poor game, but after that, they both clubs invited me down for sort of a trial period. And that's how it came about. So yeah, it happened really quickly. So my guess is the scouting network saw a 15-year-old in a League Two squad, and I doubt they knew anything about me before that. But seeing that obviously alerted them, and they come and watch. So yeah, after that I got invited to those two clubs to go on trial.
Amazing.
Yeah, really good that. And you said you had a poor game. Do you think that was part of it, that you knew there was a scout there, or scouts there, and it was in your head?
100%. But not only did I just know, all the lads knew as well. I remember them speaking to me in the warm-up about it, and they were trying to guess who was the scouts, and it just fried my head. I remember trying to get on the ball. I remember it vividly, trying to get on the ball, and like, it went under my foot a few times. And after 20 minutes, I thought, that's it, I'm done. And I remember looking at my dad and thinking, I've ruined it. But I obviously done all right because they invited me in after that. But yeah, it was the first sort of time I'd felt pressure, I would say.
That's interesting.
So on the back of that, then Arsenal did sign you. So is it 15 years? I think they pay Cheltenham like, was it £250,000 for you, which is ridiculous amount of money for a 15-year-old.
Yeah. So at the time, I think they were in a bit of financial problems at the moment at that certain time. So they wanted to sell me, and I went to Arsenal for a week, went to Manchester United for a week, and then both clubs sort of expressed an offer. So they offered me a deal. I went to Arsenal first and really sort of got on really well with the coaches and the lads, and I went to Italy with them, played in a tournament in Italy, and sort of bonded with them. Had more of a connection with them than I did with the Man United coaching staff and lads. So my sort of affinity was to Arsenal at the time. And then they paid, I think they paid $250,000, and then there was add-ons and stuff, which obviously didn't materialise because I didn't go on to have the career that they thought I was going to have. But Yeah, it was £250,000 at the time, and I actually left school. So I was a year 10 at school, so going into year 11. So I got taken out of school at year 11, moved down to London into digs, and then I used to get home tutored in my maths, science, and English just so I'd get my 3 GCSEs, which is a good job I did in the end. So yeah, so I was taken out of school a year early and moved down there when I was 15.
Yeah. Yeah, so you started talking about you've moved down to London and all this experience. Do you want to just talk us through the whole experience as a whole, what it was like, training, the youth team setup at Arsenal, what was the facilities like, what was the difference between sort of, playing for Cheltenham, who were probably Cat 3 academy,
Yeah.
and going into a Cat 1 academy. What's the difference, and what was your experiences of it all?
Well, it's night and day, and that's no sort of slight on Cheltenham Town. The facilities and finances involved in Arsenal's academy and reserve team setup is phenomenal. I remember going down in the canteen is a 5-star canteen. You've got a Michelin star chef. You've got an unbelievable gym facility. You've got unbelievable pitches, undersoil heating, sorry, on the pitches. I thought they removed the pitch every sort of like 3-4 months to replace it, so it was perfect. Just the detail that they went into was crazy. But the standard of player really obviously shocked me, because I was used to being sort of a big fish in a small pond and getting moved through the age groups in Cheltenham's youth setup, and then going in there, and I think I got given a squad number, not squad number, but a number of 72, and I think there was 94 players from first team down to youth team when I joined the club. So yeah, that shocked me a little bit. Where we used to at Cheltenham have 15 players for the youth team, we had a selection of 28, 20, 29 players for the youth team, and then in the reserve team you'd have anywhere near 40, 50 lads.
It's like a production factory, isn't it? It's just
it is, yeah. Well, they go and cherry pick. We used to quite often have lads from Brazil, Ecuador, Colombia. We had a lad from Japan, Real Miyachi. He joined whilst I was there. Loads and loads of lads joined whilst I was there from all over the globe, and they just cherry pick the lads that they think have got potential. They put them on deals, and then they see that, and the 1% go and play for Arsenal. Well, the 0.5% go and play for Arsenal, and the 1 or 2% go and have a career. So they've got a massive pool of very talented lads, and then they just sort of give them the platform to go and do their thing, and then yeah, you see what happens from there. But yeah, it's a really talented group of players and great lads as well. Really nice lads.
So, did you have 2 years in the youth team and then a 2-year pro? Was that what it was?
So I got offered like when I joined, I was 15, and then I had like a year. So I was offered a pro from 17. So that year was like a scholar year, and then I signed a 2-year pro from 17 to, or not, a 3-year pro. I'm not sure, 17 to 20 or 19. As soon as I turned 17 on my 17th birthday, I've signed pro for him. And then I think it's a 3-year deal in total.
Yeah. Nice. So in terms of the actual training then, and you say that the level of the player you're coming up against, how did you find the sort of, what it's like when you go to a new club or a new side or anything, you've got to sort of establish yourself, haven't you? And you sort of get into kickball and whatever, or the little games.
Yeah.
Did you know straight away that the standard was just immediately, oh my goodness me, like I've got to think 2 seconds quicker here?
Yeah, so I had a good experience with them. Obviously, when I went for my trial period, I was with them for 2 weeks, went to Italy. So I knew a few of the lads, and I knew the standard I had to be up to. But yeah, straight away, just the training sessions that they put on are totally different. I'd never experienced anything like it. You do 20 minutes of keep ups before every single session. If you drop the ball, you're hammered. Then you go into small boxes, then you go into medium boxes, then you go into big boxes. These are possession boxes, and then you go into a mannequin drill. So you're probably an hour and 20 minutes into a session, and everything has been around technique, possession, keeping the football. They used to stop the training session point blank if you pass on the wrong side. So you'd be doing mannequin drills if you pass his right foot where you should be playing on the outside foot. They'd stop the drill. So that level of detail I'd never experienced before at Cheltenham. So that really did shock me, and it just made me. It made me a little bit nervous, made me a little bit anxious. But yeah, it definitely does get you up to speed very quickly. So the technical side of things was hugely emphasised in training, and that was the biggest difference that I found.
And I know you've said before as well. So think about like the great Man United teams in the 90s, where it's like Giggs and Beckham get it wide and get crosses in the box. I know you've told me stories before about how Wenger would, they'd say get it wide, don't cross it unless you're sure it's going to go to someone. Come back and keep the ball. Is that right?
Yeah, that was right. So in our youth team, obviously, I didn't have many dealings with Wenger, but Steve Bold and Neil Campbell, they used to obviously reflect what Wenger wanted. So we'd get out wide, and if you cross the ball aimlessly, you'd get told off. They wanted to. The old Arsenal adage was trying to walk the ball into the net. It's the right way to say they didn't want you to risk possession if it wasn't needed to be risked, if that makes sense. So in a crossing position, if you can't pass it to someone in the box, don't do it. You wouldn't do it in the middle of the pitch. You wouldn't do it out in a normal play. So why would you just cross the ball aimlessly? So they used to want us to cut the ball back or get to the byline and stand the ball up, knowing that someone was there, or they would just say recycle the ball. And you'd have a pivot and you'd come out the other way. And they didn't want you putting the ball in the box aimlessly if you didn't know it was a good chance of someone getting on the end of it.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
Good insight.
Whereas at Cheltenham, they should just say put it in the box.
Just smack it in there. Yeah.
Different standard. Jamie, obviously, I go back to again when you said about the scouts there in your game when you had at Cheltenham, you're talking about the anxiousness that potentially an Arsenal training session could bring to you in terms of don't want to be highlighted for making a mistake. You talk about that psychological corner in football, like how important do you think that corner is to almost taking those next steps, and how vital do you think that is for a lot of young professionals these days?
I think it's one of the biggest factors, Josh. I think because you like we spoke about having such a pool of talented players. Everyone was very good technically. Everyone had ability. Everyone was physically good because they made you physically good. You could run all day. You were fit in the gym. But I think that X factor, and that's why lads make it and why lads don't make it, is what goes on between your ears. And I think back then, 2009, 2010, it wasn't as spoke about and it wasn't as prominent as it is now. Sort of young lads with mental health, young lads with anxiety, feeling pressure. And I definitely was subject to sort of overthinking, being over anxious, trying to. I used to always worry about proving myself every day, and I used to get sort of head up in making mistakes and beating myself up. And I think the better a young lad can deal with that now, and if they've got support around them to help them deal with it, it will 100% stand them in good stead for making it in the game. I think the mental side of football is huge.
Yeah. And I can totally relate to that, and just sort of from my own experiences in that sort of professional environment. Every training session with the first team, with the pros, is you do feel like being judged, don't you, as a young sort of 17, 18, 19-year-old lad. And if you give the ball away, it's like, oh my goodness me, and then you'll be driving home after thinking, oh God, I was rubbish today.
Absolutely.
What are they thinking about me? And that you do have that literally mental battle probably every day, don't you? Because
every day,
literally on trial every day, even though, all right, you've got a 2-year deal or whatever, and people probably don't realise that,
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I can totally relate to that.
So Joe's just talking about you had a 2-year deal. In terms of that, then with Arsenal, what was the outcome? What was the sort of eventuality of that 2 years, and what was then your next steps?
So the outcome of that was they didn't want to give me a new deal. They effectively released me. So then I went to, it was in the summer, so I went home, and then I had an agent at the time, and he spoke to a few different clubs, and then West Brom expressed an interest in taking me. So I went down to West Brom, met the people there, and they offered me a year contract. So when I think I was 20, was 19, 20, I went in at West Brom for a year and signed a year pro there. This sort of moved to Birmingham and started playing for West Brom.
That was Roy Hodgson manager there at the time, yeah?
Yeah, so Roy Hodgson was manager. I went into the reserve team set up straight away with David Oldfield, who's now the Oxford City manager. He had a bit of time at Burton Albion. And we had a really good reserve team. We had sort of Kamal Roof was up front for us. We had George Thorne played centre mid, Saido Berahino, Sam Manton's had a good career, Donovan Daniels had a good career, Liam O'Neill plays for Cambridge. So we had a real good, and then you'd have sort of Graham Dorrans playing for us. Gabriel Tamas, a few of the first team boys that weren't really involved. So it was a really good setup, and I really enjoyed it. I'd done really well at West Brom, and we used to train with the first team sort of once or twice a week. And Hodgson, and I really enjoyed Hodgson's training sessions. They were really simple. They were really sort of effective. There were a lot of defence against attack. There were a lot of patterns of play, 4-4-2. Nothing overly complicated, nothing overly expressive. But he done really well at West Brom, and yeah, enjoyed training with him. Obviously, never in the squad or never played under him, but yeah, just sort of rubbing shoulders with his sessions. And then I think he went on to manage England after that, I think. So.
Yeah, he had a very illustrious career, didn't he?
Yeah, he's had a great coaching career.
Yeah. So that must have been really valuable experience. Sort of, again, just seeing that environment, another sort of first team sort of training session, and bouncing with them. So, as I said, so the reserve team was going well for you. You training for with some players that you've mentioned, some big names, Berahino and that. What was the sort of season like for you? What and then what was the sort of end goal? What were you looking to do?
Was really good, just sort of looking to get another year and just sort of train with the first team more and establish myself in the reserve team. I played sort of like 23, 24 games of reserves that season, and played really well. And then I developed an injury. Now I didn't make it because I wasn't good enough. It was nothing to do with an injury, but this definitely hampered my sort of ability to get another deal at West Brom or go to another club at that time. I developed tendonitis peroneal tendonitis in the bottom of my foot, and it was just something innocuous, just running on a treadmill. And I was out for about 3.5 months, and at the end of it, I had to have 2 steroid injections in my feet, just to get me sort of jogging and training again. So all in all, that sort of injury cost me about 3-4 months of my time at West Brom, which is a massive period of one season. And when I come back, it's hard to get fully fit again. I'm sort of fighting the last sort of like 2 months of a season to try and get a new contract. They signed Keith Andrews, I think, and a few other centre midfielders a little bit more experienced. George Thorne got a new deal, so I was eventually sort of pushed out of that club as well. But like I said, I didn't make it because I wasn't good enough. But that injury, I was confident I would have got another year without that injury, and then you don't know where you go from there. But yeah, it definitely did affect my time there. Yeah.
So after that, then obviously, and I know it's like you get released from a pro club, and it's like the end of the world, isn't it? Obviously, I think you then the Nike Academy, didn't you?
Yeah. So at the time I was injured, so there was a few clubs who spoke to my agent. My agent stopped ringing me then and stopped answering my phone calls. But so that was reassuring. He loved me when I was at Arsenal. He take me to Nando's twice a week, and then now he wouldn't phone me back. So so I was injured. I had this problem with my feet, and I was getting steroid injections. West Brom let me go, so I was without a club, without an agent. I was suffering really bad with sort of like I wasn't depressed, but I was really down. I was gutted. You can go from 3 years ago I was on top of the world to now being crushed. No one wanted to speak to me. No one really cared about you anymore. So I spoke to I saw this program when I was at West Brom, this Nike Academy, and I spoke to him and I just said, look, can I come in? I'm injured. I need to get fit. And they said, yeah, come along. We know about you. We've seen you play. So I moved to Loughborough University, and they put me up, and they got me fit. It only took a couple of months to get me fit. And then I signed on to the program there, and it was an incredible year. So lads who have been released from sort of all over the country, and we all joined at Loughborough. There's about 16 of us, and basically just got given another year. It was like sort of I was 20, I think, or just halfway through my 20s, and then and yeah, they put us up at Loughborough, sponsored us by Nike, and we travelled around the world and played football. So we played sort of Man United, Barcelona, Espanyol. Went to Sweden, we went to Belgium and played Club Brugge, and it was an amazing experience. And through that, then they send you to clubs, and clubs express interest for you, and yeah, it was an amazing year. So that's how I fell into that. I only asked them to get me fit really, and then ended up staying for the year. Like,
what coaches coach you there, mate?
So we had Ryan Gary, who now I think he's an under-16 coach at Arsenal. Jimmy Gilligan, who was Stuart Pearce, one of Stuart Pearce's coaches for the under-21s when Stuart Pearce was there. And then we had a few other coaches. One of them's gone on. He's coaching at Sheffield United now. But yeah, it was a real good setup. Like, and yeah, really good experience. And it was nice to be around lads who the same mindset. They've been through the same stuff. You all know Joe. And there's nothing worse when you've been released from football. Then you go and speak to people who aren't involved in football, and they say, "Oh, what's happened, Jay? You must be rubbish. Or what did you were supposed to be the next Fabregas and this and that." And that really sort of hurt my feelings, and really I really went inside myself, and I didn't want to go out, didn't want to come home and see my family, didn't want to see my friends from school because they didn't really know what I was going through. But then being in that environment with the Nike boys, they'd all been through it, so we could take the mick out of each other. We could talk about it openly, and everyone knew that we were still good lads and still good players, but we just hadn't quite made it. So it was a really nice environment, real freedom in that environment to go and express yourself again.
And that probably leads on quite nicely to obviously where we're going next with obviously your time at Hartpury College and stuff, because I feel like it was a very similar experience there, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, so Hartpury was great. That's where I met Joe, and we joined Hartpury and met each other in the football program as well as the education program. But yeah, very similarly come out of the Nike Academy, spent some time with Newport County in League Two. That didn't quite work out, so then went into non-league football, signed for Gloucester City, then met Mark Richards, then went into the Hartpury College university route. So at this point I'm sort of 20, 21, and my dad's saying, look, you've got to get some sort of education under your belt. I've got 3 GCSEs, I've got no experience in anything else but football. So when Hartpury come along, they offered me a scholarship to go and play for the football team, and obviously partaking a sports coaching degree. And yeah, it was great. Similar environment to what I said about the Nike Academy. Lads who had been released, who wanted to join the program and get an education, but also carry on with their football in an elite program. And yeah, it was a great environment. Me and Joe had some great times there.
And that sound advice really as well, as you sort of allude to, is that go get something else under your belt while keeping that sort of football avenue open.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. What's so you gained some great experience again at Hartpury, because it's obviously very much known for its football program and the opportunities that it can arise. And you're gonna get a degree. So did you start thinking, right, am I going to go away from football? Am I going to still have football as a living? Am I going to go try and push for the non-league route again and climb up? What was your thought process at the time?
So my thought, Josh, when I first started at Hartpury, my sole aim was to train and get a pro deal. So that was what I was still hell-bent on, being a professional footballer. I'm going to be a professional footballer. No one's going to stop me, blah, blah, blah. But after my first year and getting sort of used to the education, massive help to Joe, by the way. Joe got me through my first year in the classroom, because I was not used to doing anything educational based.
Got me through
Yeah. And then I started playing non-league football, and I was earning all right money from non-league football, and I was surprised at the standard of non-league football. I sort of dismissed it coming into non-league at the start, but I couldn't believe how many good players there were in non-league football. I couldn't believe how professional the setups were, how good the coaching was at times, and how good I was sort of playing for Western at the time, going away to Dartford and playing in front of 2,000 people, and it was brilliant. And spent some time at Hereford whilst I was at uni, and we were playing at Luton away in front of 7,000 people, and I thought, wow, this is something I'd never seen. Non-league football is huge. So after my first year, I sort of still wanted to still had that dream of playing professional football, but it wasn't like a desperation anymore where it had been before. I thought, well, I could play non-league football, earn a good living, and play with these good players and play at these nice places, but also get a career in it. I think it was Mark Richards. Mark Richards, apart from my dad, has had the biggest influence on my life. Period. He's been great to me, and I remember him just sitting me down and just saying, "Look, Jay, just get a degree, and then you can go and work anywhere as well as playing football." He said, "You can go anywhere in the world, you can do anything you want, you get any job, just get the degree." And it's the advice that stuck with me for so long, and I just knuckled down, got that degree, and then, like I said, the desperation of being a professional footballer wasn't there anymore, because I had another avenue. And I think the relief of that, and if I would speak to any young lad now, I would say try and get a backup, because it just takes that pressure off you when you're playing, and you're not playing for your livelihood anymore. You're just playing football, knowing that, okay, I've got a degree, I'm an intelligent lad now, I've explored different avenues, I can go and get another career and play non-league football. It's not the end of the world if I don't make it. And it was always the end of the world if I didn't make it before I went to uni, if that makes sense. So it just flipped my mindset. You know, Mark Richards, people like Joe, and people that were doing that as well. Just really changed my mentality, and it helped me loads. It helped me on the football pitch. I played better because I was freer.
Yeah.
And we had a good night out.
We had some great nights out. That was the bonus. Joe's great on a night out. If anyone wants to go out with him,
unfortunately, I've had that pleasure as well. But yeah, no, it's it sounds, as you said, you're talking very free and open with your mind there, which is maybe if you look back when you're a youth player, is what could have hindered you. So,
exactly.
What are you up to now? What's your goals? What's your aims? What is your sort of life right now? If you were to describe it.
So I come out of uni with a first class honours degree. Never thought I'd ever say that. And then I went on to a graduation recruitment company, who placed me in an interview. And then I started a graduation scheme in a company called Edmondson, which is an electrical wholesaler. Which I'm now an external sales rep for that company. So I've been there 3 years now, and it's a great job. Love my job in Cheltenham. Love the people I work with, and wake up every day looking forward to going to work. So I'm very, very grateful for that. And then I work alongside my football. So I've played for Hereford FC, I've played for Gloucester City, and now I'm at Swindon Supermarine since I left uni. So I'm there now. So I've signed a new contract for next year. So that'll be my 3rd year there. And yeah, just goals and aspirations now, obviously career based and work side. I've got my separate ones for that, but for football sort of thing is just keep playing non-league football. I would love to get promoted with Swindon. That's our goal. We want to get in playoffs and play in the National League South. They've invested heavily in the squad and invested in the facilities there, so that's our goal. And then just play in non-league football as long as I can. I've seen lads and played with lads who are playing at 38, 39. I'd love to be that sort of lad who's still playing at that sort of age. And then I've got huge aspirations to be a coach and a manager at a non-league level.
Wow. I mean, it's really like riveting to hear that you sort of, it sounds like you've got a massive sort of map planned out of where you want to go.
Huge, yeah. I'd love to be involved in coaching and manage. Well, ultimately, I want to be a manager. I don't want to be a coach. I want to be a manager of non-league football. I've seen so many good things. I've seen so many terrible things in non-league football. So I obviously, until you do it, you don't know how you're going to do. But I'd like to think I know. I've got good people around me, and I want to get my coaching badges. And when I come out of that playing phase of sort of 38, 39, I want to go straight into coaching and management, and yeah, take a team on and go from there. Football's my life, and I think lockdown has really given me perspective on taking football for granted. I think at times everyone takes football for granted and thinks, another Saturday, another Tuesday, another Thursday, and I'm the biggest moan in the world. But I think it's given me a great perspective on football where I've missed it so bad. Like on Saturdays, I'm running for hours just to clear my head, and I don't think I'll take football for granted again. And it's definitely excited me to be a manager after, because I don't think I could be out of it for too long, if that makes sense.
No.
Nice.
Sounds like you're
I think yours is a very fulfilling and rewarding story, your sort of time in football and your life experiences and that. I think it's a great I think you could be a great role model for many people in the future, and especially sort of young aspiring people in football.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's good. I think in your mind, it's great that you've actually had all these experiences and come through them okay, and you're in a really good place, and it's really good to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And I didn't ultimately make it. I haven't made it. I played National League level and nowhere higher. I never played in the Football League. So my story isn't the end goal that people want to hear. They want to hear come out of football, went to uni, went back in and made it, and now that's not the fairy tale. I didn't have the fairy tale ending, but I've still had a really good ending, and it's a more realistic ending, which young lads will probably end up doing. But me and you have played with lads, that Ed Williams, Scott Wilson, Jimmy Oates, people like this who were at uni, then they've gone back in and playing professional football now. So it is possible. These lads are brilliant footballers, just needed another couple of years. They just needed rounding. They needed to meet Mark Richards. They needed to meet Matty Taylor. They needed to meet Shane Duff. Do you know what I mean? The things fall in place for these lads, and now they've gone back in and doing really well. But yeah, ultimately I didn't make it, and I'd love to sort of.
but that's okay. Like, you know, and it's
And
great
that's what
that
I mean, yeah. And some lads think if I don't make it, my life's over. No one will want to know me. And just get breaking that mold and explain to them that it's okay. You can have a career in something else and have a really good non-league career. Non-league football's great. And yeah, just opening lads up to those avenues is very important, I think.
No.
Absolutely. But Jamie, it's been an absolute pleasure to hear your story from a first-hand perspective today. And as I said, I can sense the hunger and drive in you for next season already. And I hope that
Absolutely.
you have a really successful season at Swindon Supermarine. I hope it all goes well as a club and personally for you. But yeah, really appreciate you taking the time coming on the podcast today.
No, thanks for having me.
No problem.
Thanks, mate.